All right, let's get started. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Assuming Mr. Bussey?
Yes, sir.
All righty. You want me to introduce who's up front, or can you? You can tell them.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to forget our recording secretary, Kyrene Hatch, back here. So, and for the record, Jay will be active this evening since Tim has been excused. So with that being said, anybody here or out there, I guess nobody here unless this gentleman would like to address the board regarding an item that's not on the agenda? This is under our privilege of the floor. Okay, if not, we'll move to the agenda. There are no legal notices required for this meeting since there are no public hearings. And that'll bring us to the first agenda item, which is CPN 2026-030. Bill Grove doing a plan for Travis Woolley. Yeah, Travis Woolley. And Kristen, why don't you give us an update as to what it stands?
So Travis Woolley is still waiting to go before the zoning board of appeals, but he's awaiting a decision from the DEC on his property. So sometimes that can take a little while. So looks like he has something scheduled later this week, where I'm sure if he'll have a decision or any kind of evaluation to provide to the ZBA. So that's what we're waiting on.
And the variance he's asking for is the setback from
It's a
the driveway?
Yep, it's a driveway setback variance. 10 feet is required and he's requesting a 0 foot setback.
Yeah. All right, so obviously it would have to be after the ZBA meeting, and our policy is usually to have it the first meeting after the hearing of the following month. So that would bring us to September 8th meeting of the planning board. So may I have a motion to continue this application to the 8th of September? So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion second for discussion. There it is. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next one is Mr. Boosie. He is requesting a lot line adjustment, I believe, for property at 5380 County Route 32 under CPN 2026-063. And Mr. Boosie, would you mind just coming to the podium and tell us a little bit about what's your intent?
It's gonna stay the same. Don't plan on doing nothing with it. It's gonna stay farmland, recreational land for kids. It's just literally trying to get a border so no housing or anything like that comes.
So you're taking two lots that are, one's 2 acres and one's 12 plus acres,
Yeah,
and you're combining it into one lot.
yes, sir.
So that lot line there, where this common lot line goes away, or well, it becomes a common lot, and it's all one lot.
Yeah, there's a 3-acre field there, right directly behind the property, and then there's roughly about 8 acres of woods.
Okay. So I guess in doing this, you're sort of in variance with the requirement that the town has regarding the width of the lot versus the depth of the lot, and you're asking for a waiver from that requirement. Is the board clear as to what Mr. Boosie wants?
Yes.
Any discussion as to his intent or any concerns?
The only concern I would have is that it wouldn't be split again to make a flag or something like that in the future. That would be the only thing. If you're gonna keep it as one lot, perfect. You're not gonna put a house line.
No,
nothing like
no,
that.
nothing's gonna be split. It will stay just like the way it is. Yeah, no, nothing's gonna be split up.
Is it currently landlocked, or is it a subdivision from another parcel next to it? Or is that like, is there any easement to it, or is there any access to that other than directly through your backyard?
No, there's no access. The way it sits right there, like this is my neighbor John, he owns the remainder of the property there, so there's if I can walk up here.
Sure.
There's a driveway, this is obviously John's property line that goes back to the 92 acres there, he does have an access here. For the farmers to get back to the field still and all that, and this obviously, this is my original line, obviously there, and we just. Cut it off to the woods, so basically all the tillable ground is still there for the farmers to use and everything, and then. Very little of it is going with this property, with roughly about 2.5 acres that go with this merge with the woods and everything. So this is the town piece that you guys just got there.
So most of the 12 acres is woods?
Yeah, about 8.5 acres of it is woods. Maybe a touch more, I'd have to.
So the current property owner of the 12 acres, how did he ever go back there or did he ever? Oh, that was part of yours,
Yeah, we
okay.
still found it. I lease all the property. We've been there 91 years this year, from Webster, New York, but anyways. Rob moved to town about 16 years ago, my neighbor.
Mhm.
Then he grew his family from 2 to 4, and he built a new house, and I sold him that lot. This 2-acre lot right here,
Yeah,
and he's always hunted my land, but he's the only one that's ever been on it in the last 16 years. And he loves the land. I'm not the healthiest guy in the world, but I want somebody to have it. I think of it like a son. We don't have any kids, and who do you leave it to? You know, and no land's being taken away for agriculture other than 2.5 or 3 acres right here just to get.
So I think from my perspective, it's just so you understand what your rights are later, because we always try to go into a mode of making sure that you don't create non-buildable lots. Under today's standards, it would be very difficult to do anything with it moving forward. So if you're thinking through creating houses for your kids or something along those lines, that's the type of thing that you should be concerned about. That's Ag did state that there's no notable loss of agriculture, just like you stated. So the agricultural committee stated that. As you think of owning it and doing things to it, there is natural resource inventory, what we call natural resource inventory on there. You'll want to pay attention to that. So that's the hardwood trees, and water features, things like that. Just be aware of that.
Okay.
It's not a fun lot line, so.
I'm sorry, your name for the record,
I'm John Miller. I signed.
John Miller, okay, sure. Okay, well, thanks for coming in and we have no further discussion. Is anybody in the audience want to address the board regarding this application? Okay, so what we're doing is granting a waiver from the width versus the depth. And if it wouldn't be for that waiver requirement, they wouldn't have had to come here, but that is a requirement, so it's good to have you here this evening, and I guess we take a vote on the waiver. Somebody want to give me a motion?
I'll make a motion for the waiver to remove the requirement for the width versus depth requirement as noted today in the property.
Second? Okay, give a motion second. Yeah, even if he wanted to build a house back there, you have to subdivide it and.
Well, he's merging the lot with his,
Yeah,
for the houses.
yeah, I mean, to try to put something in the back.
Oh, there'll be nothing. There'll be nothing.
But I don't-
It won't happen.
Freestand.
Yeah.
Other than the deer having the. Okay, it's a good hunt back there?
I can't disclose that. Very fortunate. I've been able to use the whole farm by pretty much for half my life, so I can't say nothing. John's been very good to me. He's like a father to me, so.
That's great. That's great. Good to have neighbors that get along. All right, I got a vote, the motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, all done, painless.
Good.
Thanks, fellas.
All right, thank you guys very much. And good night.
All righty, now we move on to. CPN 2026-057. I guess that's the ridge line. The other one's, the 058's the shoreline. All right, let's talk Ridgeline first. I guess, we got a thing from Tim. I guess, which was basically taking the Saratoga view shed and Ridgeline and essentially applying it. Where are we on the discussion, I guess? What we're trying to do tonight is give staff some guidance as to how to write up these guidelines and what we'd like to see. I know the ECB has done a review and has submitted a recommendation or comments or suggestions to Dan, and I guess we have to do the same. So how do we feel? Do we feel it's, well, let me say my piece first, I guess. I think I was one of the ones that thought maybe there was an opportunity here to sort of roll Ridgeline guidelines into the scenic view shed. And rather than having a separate set of guidelines included in the scenic view shed overlay as an addendum, not an addendum, but in addition to those regulations in that zoning overlay area. Then it came down to the actual geographic part of the town that it would apply to. And the SVO is controlled by a map, the purple map. Does that purple map have to be expanded if we include ridge lines? Is it all inclusive enough for us to do that, or do we want to include more areas of the town that we'd want to protect ridge lines?
My personal opinion is that I wouldn't include more. I'm on the lake every day, every week I'm on the lake. And I'm thinking about this when I'm looking back on the town. I don't see one house above a tree line, one house above a ridge line. So I think we're doing a good job at it. I don't know if we need to make it harder, but if we incorporate, like you said, into the scenic view shed, then it's one document. Which we've, 1 acre lots, this, that, and everything else, so. Yeah, that's why.
And maybe a lot of the language that Tim had that could be included.
Minimized a little bit.
Yeah, minimized a little
Yeah.
bit, I think it does become redundant, I
Yeah.
think some safety stuff.
So Bob, I think you're not looking hard enough.
Oh, I'm on
I
there,
can take you out in a boat that I was in the other day and I'll show you some.
let's go.
Let's go.
I'm in a sailboat, so I'm going real slow.
Skiing behind me here.
Now on the east side, I've seen some.
But I actually think that's the reason we want it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, view shed, yeah.
I think Tim collectively, I worked on that document with him too, and I think he collectively shared his thoughts on that when he presented it last time we were here. A question that I have though is, are we creating this or are we giving content to the staff to then create it?
Right.
Yeah.
We're giving
We're
content
giving
to
us
staff.
yeah.
We'll actually come back with
So
whatever the
Yeah.
verbiage will be.
I think they're getting our intent.
Mhm.
Is what I think. I shared my opinion last time that I think it needs to be, you are welcome to make that document as long as you like. I think people will only read it when they're looking for a loophole beyond the checklist that you create for it. And I think that's what becomes material. So making that short, concise, and with guidelines. I would also strongly encourage staff to take a very close look at what ECB put in theirs, because I thought there's a lot of good stuff in there that aligns with what the intent of the merge was, of kind of thinking through the merge of the two guidelines. There's quite a bit of that, and for me, they address many of the same things of saying, geez, if we put enough green stuff there, then most of the stuff we're putting in this won't matter anyways. So they do a lot of that. I know they're biased by it. They love green stuff. But I think, that's probably the question of the staff is, do you understand the intent that we're going for? Because in other words, you're gonna write it and we're gonna say, and spin it on you until somebody pushes it to ordinance and forces it down everybody's throat.
So I think that we have heard good amount of your intent between this board and ECD. But I think, going back to what Chuck's mentioning, is where is this going to be ready? Is it the view from the lake? Is there, right now, there is other view sheds that are not lit within our town. So I guess that's what we're missing pieces of. Are we only going to talk about it from the lake? Or are we talking about it town-wide? What, I mean, we've looked at a couple different maps now that has shown different spots that might be ridge lines. So I guess we talked about the two different guidelines, and I don't disagree that maybe it could be one, but if it is one, what's the regulations of it?
So I don't think it should be just 50 away. And that's the easy way to handle it. It's one of the least areas we have left to develop. There's still a good chunk, and there's nothing lakefront that's, well, we're having a discussion over the weekend as why we aren't seeing people just buy lots of houses. And so it could become, if they start consuming numbers of homes. So that could happen, but I don't think it's just a lake. I do think that, I think we have examples that the one that Tim refers to off of Middle Chester all the time, of the backside of an architectural design as an example. I don't know how much controversy we've had from the community for that, but if you start cutting down ridgelines, that's why I think the wording that ECB used was tied to horizon view. Was that what the terminology?
Yeah, I saw that.
So, and that might be you don't want to break those tree lines, I think, is what you want to try to avoid, and that's what I was trying to do as we created the ridge line, is look at it and say, okay, kind of like a coverage map of what's the percentage. So there was also language in there that said, okay, if you can see it from any other place other than the road that it's on. I think, I mean, that's I understand where you're coming from, Chuck. It's a harder to manage thing, but that's also why we end up here. I know that the goal is also to try to go faster. I don't feel it the way you guys do, because they're not yelling at me to go faster. And when it becomes a big project, it's going to get stuck here. It's going to get stuck in process anyway. It's a major development. So if the intent is to help single family homes go faster, then I don't think we have a big problem with that. Or maybe we can make it faster with some changes. If the intent is to take large groups of acreage for development and make it go faster, then we should consider that, I think.
A little example too was one on 21 that was just built by Gerber. There was no trees there to take away. So there's still trees to the left of that house going south that are taller than the house, but there's the horizon view as it crests down over, and then you get up in the hills of Cheshire. So like, does that count for anything? Is that even an issue? I think the house is well placed and has a beautiful view, you know? So I think there's gonna be, I think the checklist is gonna help out tremendously to help the application process. I think there is a lot of overlap in ridgeline and viewshed that can be simplified and just, there's gonna be a matrix of what's the cutoff of how do we stop them from getting too redundant or too convoluted along the process. You know, I think everything that's been written and everything I'm reading is really helpful, but I'm a first year planning board member, so I'm learning a lot. But I think that what's here is something that we can work with collectively with staff to really help this process along.
I think that, I mean, form-based code is, we use that as an example. As a bad example, I guess. When it was created, everybody looked at it and said, sure, otherwise it wouldn't have gotten passed. And then the process hit, and now we've changed form-based code. Is that a cumbersome process? I mean, that took most of my time on the board, which is now a few years.
It definitely took time to rewrite that.
But if you're, I guess what I'm asking is, if your checklist is too long and you start getting complaints of, wow, this checklist is too long, or we don't understand it, can we just make that process more iterative? Can we speed that up of saying, geez, we just got five concerns, complaints, whatever, related to. If we take down a tree, we gotta put in 3 more, whatever the checkbox is. Can we just bring up, instead of looking at it and saying rewrite it, can we just bring, I mean, we know the major issue with form-based code was visibility on the first level.
So I think, we're not comparing the same. Form-based code was a code. Code is very difficult to change. We keep these as guidelines. I think that gives us flexibility, and if we put them into the site design criteria, again, that gives us flexibility of being able to change as we go.
Okay, so if you. That would advocate for making the checklist long. Right? Just a thought.
Yeah. Something else that we took away from your last meeting was the present. Clearing to present that you're able to, that you have to keep. Staff seemed to really like that because it didn't matter your lot size then, everybody was under the same restriction. So that was something that you'll probably see come back out of us as well as a fair measure for everything. So it didn't matter where you were, so that was a really good takeaway, I think, from your last meeting. So the staff has definitely been listening. We've actually listened to the meeting a couple times, trying to make sure that we're getting all your points. But there, like I said, it comes back to the one big unknown is
Where?
And that's why I say apply it to the scenic viewshed overlay. I said it that way it protects and it defines the area that we're trying to protect as far as the ridge lines. Personally, a ridge line being encroached on away from the lake doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's from a road, you shouldn't be looking at houses, you should be looking at the road. So who's going along, looking at the horizons and those things. And I think there's also a certain property owner rights, involvement here, because the guy buys a lot that's up on a hill. He wants to have a view of the valley. He won't see the lake because that would be an encroachment. But if he wants to look down over the valley, if he wants to look at Bristol Mountain, why shouldn't he? A house on a hill, even above the horizon, doesn't bother me, but it does bother me if it's a view from the lake or people on boats are docked or moored or threw anchor down and they're looking up. And as we said, we've been lucky so far. There's been maybe none, but very few encroachments in the viewshed. And how do we protect it to make sure that it doesn't go any further or it doesn't occur again? So that's sort of the way I feel. Apply the regulations of the ridge lines to the scenic viewshed, and that's what it would apply to.
with the overlying thought, I guess, that is that a house shouldn't be higher than the ridge line. From the lake, from the scenic view shed.
That would be in the requirements.
Right,
Oh, yeah,
that'd be,
no,
that would be the basic requirement.
You'd have more of an assurance.
So
that-
why is there a difference from the lake compared to, based on what you just stated, why is there a difference from the lake as compared to from the park? So let's take out the other owners that may have, because I agree with you, if you want to control your neighbors, then you need to own their property. But maybe it's not a road, you can argue that you're supposed to pay attention to that, but now it's just another park. So if you think of the lake as a park, this is where we all converge. Not that there's a lot around Outhouse Park, but another area like that, how is that different?
I just think the lake has more value from an economic standpoint regarding tourism. People don't come from out of town to go to our parks necessarily. I think they come here to dock their boats and put their boat in the water and go out on the lake and have a day out of it. And it'd be nice to have a nice view either side. I realize we can't control what happens in Gorham. But I guess we've been lucky there too, for the most part, and there are a couple of encroachments. So that's, I just look at the lake as a different amenity than a park, in terms of what people are looking at. And a lot of the regulations outside the lake are from roads, and I don't understand why we'd be so concerned about
The view from the
the
road.
view from a road driving by.
Yeah.
And that's why the house
I
in
think-
Middle Cheshire doesn't bother me, the homes on,
21.
no, the ones on the other Middle Cheshire,
The
the
new one?
townhouses. On the hill.
Oh,
Don't bother.
Piercebrook?
I mean, I understand Tim's complaint about the,
Well, he's talking about Pierce Brook. He's talking about Pierce Brook, the back of Pierce Brooks.
yeah, that's
But
what
I
I thought
think
you were just
that's-
referring to.
No, I'm with, St. James Place.
Oh.
St. James, yeah. Yeah, coming off Middle Cheshire, the back of Lakewood Meadows.
So I think there's a couple of things for me. Last time we talked through how it all flows downhill. So, and environmentally, it's been proven that coverage filters water. I mean, there's some, again, ECB did some great stats, or at least quotes in their response. So I think it does impact that, and ultimately, eventually, almost everything's in our watershed. So, and that might be another way to look at it too, it's labelable watershed. So, and I hear the struggle. I think most of us, if it's a house that pops up, people probably don't say anything, but if it's a development that pops up, which I guess then we would see it anyways. Another stupid analogy that I'll give is, and it's this board's fault. I notice every tower, water tower I can find the tower on 332 from almost every part of the town. And everybody that I'm traveling, I'm like, there's a water tower again. They're like, how do you?
It's a cell tower.
And their response is, they don't even see it.
Yeah.
I see that tower
Yeah.
everywhere in town, but it's because it's sitting here. So, that to me is why we don't want to, that's above the tree line, I get it. But that's a clearing like that, create the same type of thing that this sticks with the city.
Yep, could have been painted differently.
But is it gonna stop anybody from coming to town? Probably not. Is it gonna hurt anybody from wanting to live here? Probably not. It's just something we can't get back. We can't get back in our lifetime, at least, if we allow it.
Amanda, how do you feel?
I wish there was a silver bullet that would, when you said like, make it the overlay of with the watershed, it's like, what is already existing? Because I agree, combining the plans and the view shed, the ridge line, making them combined, it's just how do you make like the supplemental materials align and crosstalk with each other and not be at odds with each other. And it's like, what's existing? I'm trying to rack my brain for what's existing already that we can start like like what's existing already that we like or we use or
Say.
yes.
Well, I think as far as protecting the non-Lakeview ridges, I think between our soil erosion control, our restrictions on steep slopes, our restrictions with clear cutting with trees, I think other than a house popping up above the horizon, I think we've got everything pretty well covered. Because I think some of the regulations really get into protecting the steep slopes, and that's part of protecting part of the ridge.
Yeah.
And if we can have standards that they've got to be horizontally 50 feet down and vertically 50 feet away, I mean, that's in that recommendation that Tim had sent. I think so long as that applies to any lake development, Lakeview development, then I think we've done our job.
The staff think 170 covers it? Does it?
We
achieve that?
feel 170 does cover a bunch. Obviously, we feel pretty passionate about 170, we just rewrote it, so,
Is it done?
it's approved.
And 165.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's still original.
Yes, so, I mean, we do feel confident about those chapters that have been approved by the town board. But I think we have some good takeaways from this discussion also tonight. That will help us on these guidelines. So, we will start progressing in the direction.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking at the scenic view shed overlay, which is what, 6, 8 paragraphs in the whole too. And I think you could dovetail these regulations into that, so that would at least cover the SVO. And if you want to do anything more than that beyond the SVO, then which I don't recommend, but certainly there's still some feeling here among the board that there should be, and obviously the ECB felt there should be, so take that into consideration when you're throwing these things up.
We will, and of course, it will be coming back to you guys with what we.
Yeah, I think it's a boomerang.
So, yeah, I mean, if we miss the point when it comes back to you, which hopefully with this exercise, we don't, but if it does, then we'll have more discussion.
Dan, has there ever thought to go out to the community as a survey to find out what their thoughts are on some of these? You know, what's important to you? What's important to you? I mean,
So.
built like that, I mean, because we're doing it with these, for them, but we don't hear from what they want.
There's always talks about doing that. Obviously, we have public meetings, public forums when we go to vote on these things, which are never attended. Problem with surveys is it's a small group that gets back to us.
You've got the update of the comp plan coming up soon, right? That's certainly a question that can be as part of that. And as you said, these are guidelines, so I mean, they're subject to change. And if the public feels there should be more meat, more meat in the bone, then the guidelines can be changed and.
So by the time we go through this board, ECB, ordinance, the town board, I mean, there has been plenty of time for the public to interact. But like I said, usually it's the people that were responding to either issues when people have come through with a permit or an application that we note down, okay, there was some troubles here. And if those things continue, then we start saying, okay, we need to relook at this code or relook at this guideline. And that's where it really stems from. And a lot of the code revisions have been that way for the code department of them realizing, hey, we have an issue here. We gotta fix it.
You're lucky here. I don't think it was an issue based that caused this thing. It was more, I think, just looking at the guidelines and saying, we don't know what they mean and how do we apply them?
How do we make them
And we
enforceable?
are hopefully being proactive, and if we put some sort of more definitive guidelines or requirements on, then we've hopefully avoided any problems in the future.
So, and from the very beginning, I've been upfront with you guys about this is stemming from Kristen and I meeting with developers, meeting with clients that want to come in and either build a single family home or a development. And they want to know what you guys are thinking before they get here. Because they want to try to answer as much as they can. And when we talk about shoreline or we talk about ridge line, they're like, okay, great, you have guidelines. And then we go to pull what we have and it's like, this isn't quite what the board's what we think that you guys are gonna say. So ultimately, this exercise is stemmed from that of trying to get more transparent for these developers to know exactly what you guys want. And again, Mark, I get it, where you guys sit, you don't see the timeline in the town board, the pressures if they're hearing about, well, why is this taking 3 months or 6 months? And there's certain project, it is going to be that way. I mean, you look at Ashton, I mean, just alone, what they've gone through. There's certain things that we just can't speak. But for a single family home, yeah, maybe there is. And again, a lot of stuff is happening before it ever gets to you guys. And we're trying to really make sure that package is as complete as we can get it. But it's off of your income. So instead of somebody coming here, and you guys telling them, we're trying to tell them first, so that when they do come here, they can get approval with some conditions. Instead of you guys saying, well, we want this revised, and it's them getting postponed for another.
Will Nova do that? I want to build a single family home. What do I need?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It will give you the basics. We just met with somebody today, and again, I talked about how important these pre-construction or pre-application meetings are. Because yes, will Nova do that? Will AI help you with it? Sure, to a point. But it doesn't replace the human.
No.
When we sit down with them, they're like, oh, okay, good, yep, we got this, we go over the dates, we go over the checklist, we go over what stumbling blocks might be. AI is never gonna be able to do that. Because we actually look at the documents they provide us, and we start thinking outside of that box. Will Nova help with the initial, put it in there and say, hey, what am I missing? Sure.
Yeah.
And that will give us the basics. And again, I do recommend people do them, but again, the next step is then to meet with the humans and actually go over what might come out of this board. And we make it very clear that we're not speaking for you. We just are speaking from experience of what you guys have asked for in the past. And as we develop these guidelines, we're hoping to be able to also give those kind of documents and say, hey, here's a document that was developed out of this board. Go through this, and it should help you all along the way.
We did training at Friday at FLCC. It was great training. On your point, the survey was brought up, but also meeting people where they are. Taking instead of 10 of the major issues, take 3 and grab that group. Maybe it's farmers, maybe it's developers, whatever it may be. Get them in a public forum, and that's when you get the meat and potatoes. That's what we learned in Bassett. From the standpoint of Rochester Home Builders Association on the board, I'm watching the complaint of all the builders and what the problem is across the state, right? So then you take that forum and you compartmentalize those 10 problems down to 3 that we can actually focus on, something that's attainable, something you can actually tangibly change, and then go from there. They said that the survey side of things wasn't very successful because of the return rate, but if you have a forum of people, whether it's 25 or 50 people, that you can actually get together for a town hall, at the end of the day or something like that. That's when I think we're gonna get the most feedback from the community on what the issues is. But most people, whether they're living in a rental or living in a single family home, there's not gonna be a lot of community help that's gonna really change our guideline lists or any of this stuff because they're already living there. It's gonna be developers that are gonna have the biggest issue with the guidelines that we're setting forth. And if we could take 5 or 6 major developers in town and just have a little soiree, if you will, have a public forum for them to voice their concerns, that's when I think the guidelines could really be reduced and simplified, and possibly a better relationship between all the boards and staff and developers as well.
So to
That's
just
good actually.
so to piggyback off of that, Tom Board just has reinstated their Economic Development Committee. It's one of their standing committees, and it does have 3 major business players in the area on that committee. So a guideline like this, something to do with development, will not only just go through ordinance, but it will go through the Economic Development Committee as well. So that we can get a little bit more feedback on that as well.
So, just another question, what's the problem that the map that's creating the challenge is scenic viewpoints? Is that the one that creates the problem? Because of the
I think it's
resolution of the map?
scenic distance, right?
I'm looking at map for scenic views.
Yeah.
Scenic view sheds, the one that's yellow and brown. And orange. So I think we all agree that steep slopes is covered, 170 certainly covers that. Visible from Canandaigua Lake is covered. When I look at that, then if it's not a resolution problem, so you guys can't tell where this is. If that's a problem, then that's a different problem. But we might be able to just switch the radius. Because if you compare them, if you were to overland, they get picked up. So then maybe they've got 3 radii of half-mile radius, 1 mile radius, 2 mile radius. Where it can be seen from. Maybe we say we drop the half-mile radius. And the reason for that, the thought behind that is if we do the overlay on them, I think you're going to figure out that if you take steep slopes and land visible from Canandaigua Lake, you've already got them anyways. There'll be some outliers in that half-mile, because that's what you're thinking of, right? I'm within a half-mile of it. That's less of a disturbance to the general town or the general population. Or when I'm 2 miles from it, that's a long ways. I mean, just a thought. Another way to maybe think of it is that you say, okay, we're going to disregard half-mile radius. It might be worth the experiment to just overlay them. And then again, if it's a resolution problem, we might not solve anything anyways. So if you can't tell where that address is, then but the resolution doesn't look good. So so if you look at that and then scroll through and just go up 2 pages to the other map. Oh, yeah. So that's already covered. That's covered by.
Yep, that's the SVO.
Yeah. So and then if you find steep slopes and overlay it, you'll see something similar. Because steep slopes picks up most of the stuff that's heavy down in the southern part of the town. Those 2 do capture most of it. And then if you take the radius and adjust it to a longer radius, it might capture it for you too. Just a thought.
Well, that fit the scenic vistas. I mean, that's more the numerical location looking out. So are we trying to protect those vistas from any type of encroachment in the ridgeline?
That's different, I thought, because they were talking about in the scenic view of like ag land and forestry land and like.
Well, these are specific, those numerical locations are all,
There are, and then there's pictures associated.
yeah, specific locations, yeah, and there are the pictures.
Of like ag
And the last thing I'm gonna do is try to put a definition as to what is pretty.
So I'm trying to look for one that's got a ridge, that's, well,
dual
one.
road. It's not a ridge, but it's a big hill there.
We're saying we don't want anything encroaching that horizon on that particular vista.
I'm not gonna answer that question. What I'm thinking through is where are people more likely to want development, right? And I think what we're trying to do is we're gonna prevent them from stripping a hillside.
Yes.
A lot of these developments can't happen.
They can't.
There's no sewers out there.
I get it,
So there's not pretty top, there's one spot
but
on
a
the other side.
15,000
Here,
square foot house is also gonna have that. That's why I suggest the percentages, right? Anything over.
The thing that scares me the most would be a clear cutting on anything, even though it's non-lakeside, Lakeview. I mean, clear cutting on a hill would be just, a catastrophe.
I wouldn't know anything about clear cutting
Huh.
and what it does to land. Especially
Well,
wetland.
I know what we went through with County Road 16, remember?
Yeah. I
And
remember.
then,
And 364.
and once you take a tree, then once you take a forest down, you back up. Yep. So, are we good on ridge lines? Okay, let's do the easy one, shoreline. Bob,
Shoreline was just simply, I took everyone's inputs. And like Dan wanted, it was just inputs of kind of a key point to what we wanted to see done. And then from those, they'll build whatever they're gonna build from that in the ECB. And combine them, and then from that, they need to be the guidance and then checklist from that. I mean, that's pretty much, I just brought everyone's comments together and to keep ones.
And I think you did I think you did a good job at it. I think I would like to see us get away from the stuff like colors and flags and stuff like that.
Yeah, there was nothing like that in there. No lighting, nothing, which,
But there were still colors, and I think that was
so
still
there, it wasn't colored, it was said, and it was should and not would. I changed all those words to shoulds and coulds and not mandatories, must, and all those.
But we bring them up.
That's different. That's not, I mean, not in the words. We do bring up things like that, yes, but if we have the guidance, we should be able.
I would rather give them pressure to put up another tree so we don't see it, as opposed to tell them, don't make your house white.
No, I didn't say.
I would rather
say
incentivize
color.
them to want to do that.
I think we should mute it. I think it's what it said, earth tone.
You hear what I'm saying?
And then that's what Mike was saying the other day, what is earth tone and all that stuff.
It's the philosophy of give them a carrot instead of a stick. So make it whatever color you want, just put another tree in. Or.
Yeah, then they're gonna kill the tree and then after we go. Do an as-built, oh, that tree died. Oh, we took all those trees down.
Yeah.
Okay, if we apply a why, when, where, and how to this thing, I think we've got a why with the objective, the preamble, of why we want to do this, where we want to do it. Set these RLD, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we keep the shoreline guidelines in the RLD. How we want to do it, that's where I think we want to talk about some of the things that we're looking for in terms of protecting whether it's landscaping, stormwater management, those kind of things, which I think were addressed in your document. And
Buffer zones, things like that.
okay.
Yep.
And you're thinking about this being in the design criteria.
Were there any questions that you had like the where? Obviously, this one.
No, so shoreline, we felt pretty confident after the last meeting, but again, something came out of this one, Bob's comments that came out were very helpful for us. Really, the rich line was the one that was more out in the air, pretty confident on this one.
I think maybe a little more procedurally what we're looking for. In other words, the applicant's got to include a landscape plan, a rendering, or perspective would be helpful from the lake, and statement, shoreline guideline statement. And because a lot of times,
You want the statement, because the statement kind of falls flat sometimes, unless it has a rendering to back it up and all that stuff. They're like,
Well-
hey, we're gonna do this.
you can put it on the plan, which a lot of people, applicants
Yeah,
do.
but-
They just put as a narrative in the corners.
What did we see? That one had a plant today plan and a 3-year plan, a 5-year, how it's gonna grow plan. Those. What's her name?
Probably Mark Bear.
What's her name did that? Lance.
Sue Steele?
Does everybody sort of agree that's where we're going with that? Okay. I think procedurally, that would help you and to make sure that the applicant knows this is what we're gonna be looking for in terms of a plan to meet the requirements of the guidelines. And a rendering or perspective from the lake would be helpful.
That would all be on the checklist, I would imagine too. We need
Right.
this.
Hardline
Yeah.
checklist.
And the parameters we're looking for, landscaping, protecting, you have that buffer, 25-foot buffer.
Yeah. For Mark. Which is,
We're not worried about the house color, though. I always bring it up. I just mentioned, what's the facade gonna be?
yep.
I gotta be here for a reason.
Yes.
We'll
The chairman will ask.
ask, but whether do we want it in the something that the developer knows we're gonna be looking for? And I know we have limited powers in aesthetics. Yeah, we sort of go a little bit beyond our charge to ask them what color the siding is gonna be, but we can always ask.
Great.
I think that's why we've probably been pretty lucky or pretty good at with the shoreline guidelines, because there's so much flexibility. We think, right, each lot is different, and sometimes the issue is stormwater, sometimes the issue is he's taking trees down and you want to put trees back up, so you want to make sure the landscaping's, you know.
We still got a whole lot of very white houses,
Yeah,
so despite asking, and they're relatively new. That's the only thing that. It's a procedural.
You know,
thing.
the one that jacks my jolls every time I drive by, and I don't know how it got by us, was that one, just off Butler. The cube, that white house, that white cube.
oh, yeah, yeah,
Good God, that's.
he had to have his deck.
I hope they have.
Hold on, there was a huge discussion related to whether or not it was in the character of the neighborhood. There was,
You remember that one?
I do.
And there's an all black one down in the, it's like all black.
Then I'm thinking, well, maybe he's got a deck up top.
He does have a deck, that was the goal,
That was the goal.
to have a deck.
That was,
Because
Yep.
railings don't get put into the height requirement. Railings and, oh, perfect.
I think he's got a knee wall that gave him that,
yeah.
that ability.
There's something.
That's
I've
what the
only
roof
seen
line
it,
is at
I've only
20.
seen it from the inside, but
Yeah, I
anyway,
remember the plan.
Yes, not my style either.
we let the shoreline get away from us now.
So,
Oh, lesson learned.
Okay. You okay with shoreline then?
Yes,
All right, so I guess in the future, we'll expect some sort of draft from.
yes, these two workspaces will stay open. I'm not gonna sit here and promise you how quickly they're coming back to you. But we will start working on them and it will be back.
Okay, and when you're ready, you'll reactivate them and
Yes. No,
populate the,
back on the agenda.
okay, the workspace. Okay. Okay, we got minutes from back on 7/28. Karine prepared them. Thank you, Karine. Do we have a motion to accept them?
So moved.
Second. Any motion second? It was a very good job on following that discussion. Thanks. Maybe relive the meeting, literally. I mean, it was what I forgot. I found in the minutes. Okay, I got a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'm going down. There's nothing else on the agenda. Unless Dan, you have something?
There is a stormwater training November 4th at the hotel in a neighborhood.
Oh, that's what I want to go to.
Training. Would complete your 4 hours required if anybody would like to.
Do you know off the top the last day you need to notify? For us to tell you to,
Yeah, like end of September.
Okay.
Beginning of October, somewhere in.
Actually, my
October.
So.
The New York Association of Towns has a event at Woodcliff.
Yes.
That's October. I think it was
I
February or something. Maybe it was the end of September.
I shared that one. Oh.
Yeah,
With some.
yeah, it's. They have 3 of them and one's in our neighborhood, Woodcliff.
Yeah,
I'm not sure they published the agenda yet. Cause I was wondering what's gonna be on it. It's for planning and zoning.
For it. Any sessions. Information.
So there's definitely some local training.
Yep.
It's pretty easy to get right now. It's through the end of the year, so.
There's a December Ontario County Soil and Water, and it's on water, different water topics as well.
Mhm. And you went to the one at FLCC?
Yeah.
That was what, the half day or all day?
I was 3/4 of the day, like.
Yeah, okay, that's the one, I guess,
Give a lunch. A lot
Murphy-
of Murphy in Cooperstown,
right, okay.
except for the lawyer, but it was a good training, it was actually, it was fun. Saw some familiar faces, so. It was a good training.
Okay, next meeting, our agenda is actually smaller than this agenda. I think we have a extension request from the landscaper out on the
Airport Way
airport,
or
airport road.
That's the third.
Isn't it?
He's asking for a third extension for 120 days. So you better have good reasoning, and I don't think we should vary much from our standard. And
This is the wetland one.
maybe he should just, whenever he gets his wetland or his DC in court.
Yeah, Army Corps of
Clarification.
Engineers and DEC.
So
Maybe you should wait till he gets them and then apply.
some of this stuff is, they need to be at a certain point with you guys to be able to submit to the state. Because they're starting to cut down on just people submitting. So they're saying that you have some sort of submittal to the town or, and then they take their 120 days. And then you have to ask them, have you completed their review? And then they get another like 90 days. It's really a broken system with the DEC.
Yeah, I understand. They don't want to look at a application until it's been through the town.
Yeah.
Approved. But on this one, this is a third extension request on a reapplication.
On
On the second
Reapplication,
application,
I
yes.
was
So
like,
they went
let's
through
remember that.
Two
They wanted
extensions on the
expired.
original, then
Yeah.
they had to reapply, and
And
now
the
we're
wetland thing.
requesting a third
it.
extension on
Yep.
the reapplication.
And I'm not sitting here
Yeah, no.
defending that,
Yeah.
but I'm
Yeah.
just saying that. Some of these things that are happening, there is a bigger, and I know your guys' policy and I respect it. But another project that comes to mind is Uptown with the big fight with the power company in New York State on that grant. Completely out of their control.
Right.
It would be very expensive for them to go back and reapply again. Not saying that that's what we're gonna find out with this, but there is a lot of extenuating circumstances on some of these projects. That I just want you to think about, and I'm not asking for you to change your policies, but there is some justification.
Well, I could just get the feeling with a couple of these, it's like we're into the DEC and the Corps and we haven't heard a response yet. And I think, I don't know if it's not following up or.
So you can't follow up for at least 90 days. They won't even answer your call.
Okay.
And then when you hit that 90 days, then they'll give you a time frame of when they might get to it. Yeah, so it's like I said, it's a broken system. And a lot of it has to do with the whole court case that the DEC got challenged, they lost, and now there's an appeal. So they're not even looking at anything because they're in court.
All right, well, Marks and the applicant, I guess, have to do their thing.
Yeah, and
And
they should be the ones explaining that to
They
you.
should
I'm
cover it.
just trying to give you guys a little background.
Yep.
And we'll see what they say.
We need a little more detail than them just standing there, we have our application in and we haven't heard anything.
please.
I asked
Any
them
tip, yeah.
very involved.
So what are you doing to follow up and what's the status? So we'll listen to that in 2 weeks.
One question, Dan, Justin, do you know what's going on Airport Road and Brickyard? There was they came to us a long time ago. We had a landscaping thing that they had to put up, and now it's all tore down, and there's a road going in there right next to that pond.
Airport. and Berkeley.
Yeah. The commercial property.
It's the
The one we just
sausage.
approved.
No, down further, right at airport by the pond.
I just drove by that yesterday.
Town land?
We did just try by that.
We did.
They tore down all those trees,
Okay.
which we told them to plant or fix. Now there's a road going right to nowhere right now, but I didn't.
So right on the
Right.
screen there, just so I'm looking at the right thing.
May I go to the screen?
Address the one.
Right here, all these trees are gone. All the trees are gone, and there's a road built in, right, or a driveway or something.
It could be something that the town is doing.
Yes, it's a town,
You're
We-
I'm in a cloud permit.
Well, wait.
It did come up because we were with Mike Murphy yesterday, in his vehicle. They drove right by there.
Uh-huh.
And Mike told me not to look at that, it's a town involved project. So. And that's all the details I have, and he said if I need more information, I had to follow up with Jim Fletcher. And he's on the vision, so.
That's my answer.
Hey, we're on the way, take a little streets then. Calm down. Alrighty, anything else? If not, check that time.
7:01.
Oh, I tried to get it under an
Very
hour,
close.
didn't do it.
That's my motion.
Alright, got a motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. There are a couple